You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is November 1st, 2023 special meeting of the Long Beach Town Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. It's a special meeting in the town of Long Beach, special council meeting, November 1st, 2023. Start by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God. Yeah, I don't have any open remarks or new business, and I think we have one issue to discuss tonight. Main issue anyway is concerning the building department. Does anybody have any suggestion on what we want to do with the building department and how we handle supervision employees?
I would suggest that we change the employee handbook to put the building department employees under the town administrator.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Is that a motion? Or is that just for discussion at this point?
It can be a motion.
Okay, that's a motion then.
I'll second that.
Okay, well, now we can have some discussion on. Anybody?
So that would include, just for people to know out there, would be the building department secretary and the building department inspector, correct?
That's the way I understand it.
Okay.
Town attorney want to amplify on any of that?
Yeah, this decision, as you've been informed, that under the org chart, the building department employees, although informally report directly just from a communication standpoint to the town administrator, ultimately they haven't been assigned to a department. So by making such a motion, you fill in that void, and then everybody, all of the facets of employees in the town will be covered by a department head.
It just sort of buttons up on sort of a loose end at this point. So we've heard a motion. It's been made and seconded. Any other further discussion on it? I'll call for a vote. Mary Lou?
Aye.
John Coker, aye. John Wall? Aye. Mike Johnstone?
Aye.
And Bob LeMay is, I don't believe he's on. No, so it's just, it's 4-0 passes. Okay, the next item is the employee health benefit renewal. I think the chief has a report on that.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Back in August, during the 2024 budget preparation, the town council was alerted to the fact that General Insurance, which is our local provider for our health care benefit program for our employees, had asked that we budget a 12% increase anticipated for 2024. Yesterday, we received our renewal contract for Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield. We were pleasantly surprised that it is only an increase of 4.1%, much lower than the anticipated 12%. One of the changes, unfortunately, is that the employee deductible for a single employee will increase by $250. And then the family plan, the deductible will increase from the current deductible $500 additional on top of the current deductible. Our current premium is $19,917.27 a month. That covers all of our eligible employees and their family members. The new premium will be $20,734.32. Please keep in mind, these numbers are subject to change. We have a employee that will be falling off of the program here this week. because it's a retired employee who turned 65 years old. And then we have some other changes that will be implemented come January 1. So these numbers will fluctuate, but I'm just giving you the current premiums as of today. So again, it's an increase overall of 4.10%. I know that, yes, this is in the budget, and has been figured into the 2024 budget, but since the number is so great of a $20,000 a month expenditure, I just wanted to bring it to the council's attention and would ask that the council vote tonight to approve, allowing me to move forward with the renewal with general insurance to retain Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield in the calendar year of 2024 for the town of Long Beach's healthcare benefit program for its employees.
Thank you. I don't think any of us like to see increases, but this is a surprise. I thought it'd be a lot more than 4%. So I recommend we approve it as soon as possible so they don't change their mind.
You make that motion?
I will.
I second it.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to accept the proposal by general insurance. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Nothing. It passes 4-0. Next item is public comments. Anybody on Zoom have any comments? Hearing none, does anybody in the public have any comments?
There's only two publics here. You want to do it first? Well, I mean. David and then Vice Chair.
Good evening, Anita Remages, 2300 Florimond. I want to express my extreme thanks to Chief Swistek and to the Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department for the amazing event last night. I believe most, if not all, of the police officers, the two departments, and the Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department were in attendance. They were inside, they were outside, they were everywhere. The event, Trunk or Treat, was held in the community center at the last minute because of the weather. There were families, there was laughter, there was joy, there was a spirit of cooperation, there was preparedness. Sorry, I'm just watching here. Those are the men and women who keep us safe. The families, who else was there? Families, multi-generations. I'm proud to be Rick Remage's sister. I'm proud to be Sherry Remage's sister-in-law. Rick was there with my nephew and with his 3 children, 3 generations. Dave and Lisa Albers were there with their daughter Carly and their son-in-law Ben, along with their dog. The Bad News Bears, the Walls, were there also. Larry and Jane were serving smiles. They were serving pizza and popcorn. John was there, John Wall. He was there as the only council member. He was there as a Long Beach Volunteer Fire Department representative as well. Meg Wall Collins, one of the Collins' daughter, was also there. She was making time and memories with her family. Who was not there? No other council members. Bob LeMay, I know, was out of town taking care of his elderly mom. No clerk treasurer Perry. No deputy clerk Ernie Summers. Families. Last night represents this town vested in the future, seeing the future there. The quality of life that makes me proud to live here. No need to return to cooperation, compassion, credibility. Guess what? It's here. We are actively working to keep our town what it is, not actively working to undermine and destroy it. Some of you know who you are. You will not, nor do you ever represent me. Vitriol shown against me, particularly, and a few other people who have been called names on social media sites. With cooperation and with nothing shown to talk about that and to bring it back will not stop me. There are people sitting here looking at me who brought poison into this town. And that poison has cost this town money, but it will not cost us what this town is. And I will not be stopped I am proud to come to meetings. I'm proud to listen to what people do here and how I'm proud to be on the park board. I am just proud of this town, and I'm ashamed at some of the things that are done and what people say to make other people think that this town is not working. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Do we have any council comments? Mr. Wall?
Bear with me here, I've got a bunch of pages. I know I'm preaching to the choir here in some respects, but I've got a little bit to say about some of the things that I've seen in the public arena lately. My kids all graduated from liberal arts colleges. I wish I could have paid all of it in full for them, but they had to work and borrow money, and we borrowed money too, and they all graduated. I've always stressed to them that the liberal arts education has taught them many things, but most importantly, it taught them to challenge information and consider opposing views when they formulate their opinions. Most importantly, I've always thought that they should consider the sources of the information they use to form their opinions. Mary Lou, interestingly, feels the same way I do, apparently, because she mentioned that she was not a politician at the candidate forum. I don't feel like I'm a politician either. I got into this because I thought some of the issues were important. Politics gets a little messy. During the last election, my family was pretty severely attacked. My brother-in-law and my brother and a couple other family members. I thought that was way above what should have happened. But, you know, social media, and I try not to get involved. I made a vow to myself when I got elected that I wasn't going to pay attention to social media. It's tough enough doing this job without all that to deal with. I do, however, you know, when I see things in the public domain, meaning a feature ad that misrepresents an awful lot of information, I feel obligated to correct some of that. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. One of the candidates for clerk treasurer had an ad with some very specific items in it. I'm not going to read them to you because I know most of you are familiar with what was said in that ad, but I am going to answer those points one by one. The building commissioner ordinance requires a licensed and qualified general contractor with a minimum of 3 years general contracting experience. I quote directly from the ordinance. Ernie says in one of his points, actually the first one in his diatribe, talks about the fact that the building commissioner cannot hold that position to be a large contractor in Long Beach at the same time. Nothing in the ordinance states that the contractor cannot work in the town. All he has to do is recuse himself from anything that's involved in his own work. And I will tell you, not only that my brother has made a concerted effort not to have conflicts of interest, but he has turned down a tremendous amount of work to his detriment over the years that he's been involved with the building commission. Number two, Ernie talks about 501c3 charitable organizations are prohibited from political activities. Once again, he twists information in his favor. 501c3 organizations themselves are not allowed to campaign directly, but I will read from a IRS publication about what members of 501c3s are allowed to do. Charity is forbidden to participate or intervene in a political campaign. No doubt, leave no doubt, officials should make it clear that they are acting or speaking for themselves alone and not for the charity. Officials acting in a private capacity may mention their association or position with the charity for purposes of identifying themselves, but they should not disclaim any endorsement of their actions by the charity. They should disclaim, I should say. Officials are not acting in a private capacity when they endorse a candidate or at charity functions or through charity official publications, then their actions are considered to be the actions of the charity, so that you cannot do that. But individuals are allowed to campaign, even though they're members of 501c3 organizations. Number three, public safety building. Ernie makes a significant point about my involvement in the appropriations for the public safety building. The town council voted unanimously in favor of that building all the way along. I was a leading advocate. I don't deny that. I'm very proud of that fact. I've been involved with the fire department for a long time, as you all know. So it's a little disconcerting to have him call that out as some sort of a problem. I was very proud to represent the fire department in those negotiations. Number four, he talks about the lakefront homeowners and Stop 29 situation. Most of you are aware of that. He gets into some kind of legal jargon involving around that. I will point out to you guys that the town council at that time, which was the first, I believe, first time that the council turned over from the council where the situation started to occur, the town council voted to rescind the 11th hour permits that were given to those individuals down there at Stop 29. They were erroneously issued under false pretenses by an inexperienced, unprofessional building commissioner who was subsequently let go by the next council. I do want to point out to the public, we settled that case recently by negotiating with the parties. In fact, we had a lot of friendly conversations and put the whole thing to bed recently. So that's really, really old stale news, and I'm a little disconcerted that Ernie decided to bring that up. His fifth point was he refers to Dr. LeMay as Mr. LeMay, which is a little bit, again, disconcerting to me. He's a doctor, he deserves respect. He selflessly worked and tirelessly and faithfully worked for this town for over 8 years, and to disparage him publicly in that forum was unconscionable in my estimation. Lastly, Ernie talks about the building department records not being available under the Access to Public Records Act. The building department makes their records available. I confirmed this with my brother and our attorney. In fact, if you talk to Tim Perry, he will tell you that he was able to study and copy all the recorded records relating to his permit issue over that multiple year situation that he did. And to my knowledge, there's been no requests for public access information that have ever been refused, at least during my time in office. In fact, we've made use of the attorney recently for every one of the public records requests that have come into the town, and we've tried feverishly to do the right thing in regard to those. I'm going to leave Ernie beside right now, but I will say this in terms of some of the political discourse. I do not pay attention to social media. I know there's a lot of misinformation flying around, a lot of accusations. Hopefully there's some good information. And I do think democracy is better for having that type of discussion, but I do want to point out a few things. Political campaigns are messy. This campaign is rife with accusations. And I know some of the opposition to some of the people that I'm in favor of running, and I'm not going to get into who to vote for, but you know, there's this whole big discussion about cronyism and nepotism and favoritism and all these other adjectives that are used in these campaign ads. I'm going to point out a couple of things. Tim Perry was brought in under the cover of darkness without any of the rest of the council knowledge by Ms. McFadden and the Republican Party. He was sworn in on Saturday by Mr. Defuniak, was witnessed by a bunch of cronies from the Republican group, I believe. So that was kind of under cover of darkness. None of the rest of us knew what was going on. So when you want to start talking about cronyism, nepotism, and favoritism, that's an interesting piece of history. Ernie was also recently, Ernie, who was running for town clerk, was also recently deputized by Clerk Perry and is now a member of his advisory staff. Laurel, who I have had great relationship with since she started as an employee here, was president of the PAC that supports McFadden and Cheryl Flemington and Ernie and pays for their ad. The way I understand it, according to the caveats on their signs and their ads, pays for the signs and ads of that group of individuals. As you know, Laurel was also deputized as an assistant clerk or a deputy clerk. So it's interesting to me that that group seems to keep harping on cronyism, nepotism, and favoritism, when it seems to me that since the loss of Nick Meyer, when we had the Long Beach Party had a majority on the council, the group that seems to be espousing this feverish description of what's going on around here has been in the majority since Mr. Johnstone came on board. I'm going to chastise you, Mr. Coker, just slightly here. Yeah, you and I get along famously, but I will say, when Nick resigned, you told us that you would not support a candidate from either party. You know, you were the independent person, and I still think you saw yourself that way. But what you did do was you supported Johnstone, which was a total disappointment to me. I've mentioned this to you privately. I just want to bring it up publicly. I forgive you for that, and I have forgiven you for that, but I did not forget it. I also want to call attention to my family situation. My brother was a building commissioner 4 years before I came on the council. So to talk about nepotism, cronyism, and favoritism, all the rest of that nonsense in relation to my family is a little bit of a disingenuous statement. Meg Collins, my daughter, who's also running for council, that's a public statement there. You realize, excuse me, not for council, but for town clerk, has been BZA secretary 4 years before I came on the council. So I had no influence on any of those decisions. I was on the BZA at the time. They needed some help. I said, maybe you could talk to Meg, and she was hired. I think everybody's been happy with the performance to date. My family looks on public service as a privilege and an honor. We try to do our best to place the town's interest above our own. It would be wonderful if all the elected officials in our town would do the same. That's the end of my statement. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other, council comments? None? Meeting is adjourned.